What's going on, guys? It's K-Dub here with another episode of CryptoZombie. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having a spectacular week so far. Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies in the red. In fact, we did have a dip down to around $17,600. The dip did get bought up quite fast. In fact, on the bright side, on the daily, we have spent the longest amount of consecutive days above $18,000. In fact, we've been above $18,000 for 9 days. But as a lot of you may already be questioning, has the bull run out of steam? Is it finally time for that big correction? And we were having a look at the charts, and we did in fact have a breakdown to the downside. Now, I do want to point out one thing right away, which is the fact that we are putting in a bit of a hammer pattern right here. And you will see, if I actually put this back on, that this is exactly what we had right here when Bitcoin had the reversal, right? And we are putting in a very similar candle right now, showing that the dip got bought up very quickly. So this could have just been a fake out. We could have just filled the CME futures gap, or it could potentially be looking a lot worse for Bitcoin. So we will have a look at that today. But regardless of the short-term price action, which you know we always go over, long-term though, always a Bitcoin bull. But there is one thing specifically right now that is absolutely massive, something huge that is happening right now, fundamentally, globally, worldwide, and yes, it does have to do with Bitcoin, and not a lot of people are paying attention to this, and I think it could be one of the biggest driving factors and proof of Bitcoin being the potential future world reserve. So we need to discuss that, and another thing too is we do in fact have investors beginning to warm up finally to Ethereum. Big news for Ethereum 2.0 we'll go over today. So we're going to talk about all that today. If that sounds good to you, you know what to do. If you are not subscribed, definitely consider it. And without further ado, let's dive back into these charts. So I kind of already went over this right here, but what I'm talking about right here is you could see these two candles, right? Like they're more of hammers, but they kind of look like crosses, right? And essentially what this means is it's very bullish when there's long wicks on the bottom. When you have wicks on the bottom, that basically shows that people are buying the dip, right? They're buying the dip. They're buying the dip, right? So this is an exact candle as we had back here. And we are sitting above the critical resistance support that I was looking for. Now, remember we did have two potential ways that this could play out. It looks like it actually did play out with the original asymmetrical triangle. It fell out, and we did fall to the downside. Now, this is opening up the possibility for Bitcoin to head back down here to potentially the $17,200 region, which I did say we had to hold, or going back down to where I said we could actually have right here. You see where we have this cross where we have both of the supports hitting? That could be a very pivotal level for Bitcoin as well. Now, we are sitting slightly above the previous resistance, but this is on the 4-hour chart. The one thing I do want to point out on the 4-hour chart, are you guys ready for everyone's favorite meme? We filled the CME futures gap. Can you believe it? Look, we had this gap down here, this box we've been looking at, and would you look at that? We actually came down and filled the gap. So, CME future meme, real, FUD, I don't know, guys, but we did fill the gap. But all gaps aside, now what we're doing is sitting below the ascending trend. And you can see right here, yes, on occasions we do fall below it, but you really don't want Bitcoin to stay below this yellow line for too long, because this is what's held us up on this recent trend. So it's okay that we had this dump, you know, we bounced back off of it, fine, we came down, we filled the gap. So, I mean, technically we can actually get rid of this box now. The gap did in fact get filled, but you can see right here, we need to get back above this level, and we've already had the rejection on the 4-hour. So do keep your eyes on that, guys. Now, I'm not saying we could be due for a major correction, but we have spoken about those 30% pullbacks on the channel, and if we're unable to maintain above this, especially at the end of the week, then yes, I am going to have to get, just short term, a little bit bearish on the charts. But long term, I'm always a bull. Don't think I'm like going against Bitcoin. But I do think we may have a little bit of buyer exhaustion, okay? Hey, look, everybody's looking for an opportunity. They're all wishing that the dip, right? Everyone's like, oh, I wish Bitcoin would dip so I could buy it. we may be getting that opportunity now. So, take advantage of these opportunities when you have them. Now, interestingly enough, we have had gold falling totally in a time where Bitcoin has been pumping. And having a look at what gold did when it blasted through its all-time high, it then continued and kept going, but after that continued to fall lower and lower and lower, right? So could Bitcoin potentially be setting up for one more spring to break through to the upside? Right now, it's looking a little weak to the upside, honestly, but anything can change overnight, right? But the big thing I need to talk about, and actually I'm glad that I have this gold chart pulled up because it's really what I want to mention today, is the fact that the rise of cryptocurrency in mainstream finance is actually coming at the expense of gold. And check this out. This is actually from JP Morgan Chase and Company. And according to the bank's quantitative strategists, they say money has poured into Bitcoin funds and out of gold since October, a trend that's only going to continue in the long run as more institutional investors take position in cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin. The trend poses a problem for bulls in precious metal markets over the coming years if investors move even just a small slice of their allocations away from gold into crypto. The adoption of Bitcoin by institutional investors has only just begun, according to JP Morgan, while for gold, its adoption by institutional investors is already very advanced. Now, check this out. So, according to their calculations, Bitcoin accounts for only about 0.18% of family office assets compared to gold ETFs, which is about 3.3%. So we have literally about, 1/5 of 1%, okay, in Bitcoin, whereas they have 3.3% in gold. So they say tilting the needle from gold to Bitcoin would represent the transfer of billions of dollars in cash. One way to play them is obviously you could buy some grayscale, you could sell 3 units of SPDR Gold Trust, but according to JP Morgan strategists, they say if this medium to long-term thesis proves right, the price of gold would suffer from a structural flow headwind over the coming years, and most likely it would eventually turn into a cascade, okay? It starts off a little bit, 1%, 2%, 5%, 10%. Next thing you know, 10 years, 15 years from now, Bitcoin's half the market cap of gold, right? And these things can happen. We've already seen what Bitcoin has been able to do in just its short decade of being around. Now, you do have many traditional financial institutions and high net worth individuals that have started acknowledging this year alone that Bitcoin is in fact gold 2.0. Or maybe better, instead of being gold 2.0, maybe Bitcoin is simply just Bitcoin, a new paradigm, something even better than gold, right? It was funny because I think it was Girl Gone Crypto. She said somebody on Twitter, somebody had said something and it was a good idea, and they were like, wow, like that's pure gold, right? Like that's the expression. And she goes, I wonder how long it'll take until we use the expression that's pure Bitcoin. Although it does sound a little strange, I'm not going to lie. But among many of these people, nevertheless, that are acknowledging Bitcoin as gold 2.0, we'll call it that for now, include billionaires Ray Dalio, Paul Tudor Jones, Stanley Druckenmiller, Bill Miller, JP Morgan, BlackRock, Citibank, Guggenheim Partners recently joining in, right? We've had PayPal buying 70%. We've had Square buying it, Microsoft buying it. Obviously, Grayscale, they're just like literally gobbling it up as we speak. And you also have Mike McGlone, who's the senior analyst at Bloomberg, and he says that 2020 has been a driving year for Bitcoin to become part of many institutional portfolios. He says the gargantuan QE stimulus measures from the Federal Reserve have pushed financial institutions to look for an inflation hedge that will help them save their funds, as more than $6 trillion was printed for bailouts, and the money supply has surged 25% this year alone. And when you're having a fiat currency devalue at that rate, yes, people are going to look for alternatives. And you can see right here, he actually says, in a world gone digital, Bitcoin may surpass gold. The past year has been a stepping stone for Bitcoin into the mainstream investment portfolios and for digital evolution of money, which should keep the benchmark crypto on an uptrend price trajectory in 2021. Oh, I love this from Star Fury. Look at this right here. It's Bitcoin, and he's like gobbling up all the That's pretty cool. I like that. So, that is sort of the big thing that I wanted to point out today is, yes, I know we talk about Bitcoin and gold, but now it's not just sort of a hypothesis or something that could be happening, right? We're actually seeing it. For the first time in Bitcoin's history, we're actually seeing people not only say, well, I'm going to hold a little bit of gold, a little bit of Bitcoin. Some of them are actually ditching their gold totally for Bitcoin. So this is something really, really interesting. Now, let's talk a little bit about Ethereum, right? Because we got to give our buddy Ethereum a little bit of recognition. Ethereum's been doing quite well. Ethereum 2.0 has been a success. Ethereum has actually outperformed Bitcoin this year, right? And you guys know I'm all for Bitcoin, but you got to give credit where it's due, right? 1 full week has passed since the launch of Ethereum 2.0, and over that time, deposits of the 32 ETH necessary, for staking have increased an additional 40% to 1.2 million ETH. This means that we have now over 1% of the total cap, of the total circulating supply locked. Now, keep in mind that these funds are not movable back to the original chain until they develop, a bridge between 2.0 and 1. But that's definitely a milestone as well. And also on that note, you do have current reports, they say on Form 8K by Grayscale Ethereum Trust, that they issued over 1.1 million shares at varying prices determined by references, etc., essentially saying that you are now seeing interest in Ethereum. Okay, so these guys are actually coming in, and this is sort of good for the altcoin, the DeFi space, right? That is something to mention. Now, I know when we talk about DeFi, we're always talking about Ethereum projects, but I do want to just give a shout out actually to RSK. Now, they're working specifically with Bitcoin. If you're not familiar with what they are essentially a Bitcoin sidechain, which can support Ethereum smart contracts. The RSK sidechain is merge mined with Bitcoin, meaning that miners who mine Bitcoin's blockchain also contribute to the hash rate of RSK. According to IOV Labs, mining pools represent about 50% of Bitcoin's hash power currently, on the RSK chain. Now, why is this good? Well, essentially, this is a milestone for RSK as far as decentralization, right? So what is it that they're doing? Well, essentially, they have created a new system for monitoring how Bitcoin is pegged to or swapped for RBTC, which is the native coin on the sidechain. So this is essentially, like I said, a Bitcoin scaling solution that uses blockchain-like networks that, yes, they do sacrifice decentralization, but obviously this is for a faster transfer. Now, keep in mind, you do have that trifecta, right? You have, scalability, decentralization, and I forgot the other one. What is it? Speed? No, that is scalability. What am I forgetting? Somebody in the comments is going to tell me. How could I forget it? But anyway, look, the point I'm trying to say is that what this does essentially is this is going to allow individuals like, for example, businesses, etc., to be able to participate in the decentralization process for Bitcoin, right? So they're saying, unlike the previous design, PowerPeg automates the final steps of RBTC minting process. So now when you send Bitcoin to multi-sig wallets, they generate a proof of that transaction, and they send this proof to special purpose hardware security modules. Once these modules receive the proof, they distribute the RBTC to the corresponding users. So you do have to give credit where it's due, and we are having advancements on Bitcoin DeFi as well. It's not only Ethereum. In fact, they talk about DeFi apps in Bitcoin's ecosystem, MakerDAO like stablecoin platform, money on chain, and sovereign, Bitcoin lending and derivatives as well. So lots of big developments, I would say, overall in the space: Bitcoin, Ethereum, DeFi, cryptocurrency, regulation, fundamentals. Things are looking up, guys. We may be having a pullback. It happens in uptrends. It happens in bull markets. So these opportunities are for buying, in my opinion. But do what you want. You don't have to buy the dip. It's up to you. You can panic sell. I don't care. Literally, it's your money. I'm not a financial advisor. But as you can see right here, the opportunities, the pipes are being built. Bitwise Asset Manager, a provider of cryptocurrency index funds to professional investors, has announced that its 10 crypto index funds will now be available in the US. Investors as a publicly traded crypto index funds, right? So this is just more exposure. And this is definitely good for US investors because let's be honest, man, the US, we kind of get the boot. That's what we really have it rough over here, man. But they're protecting us, guys. They're protecting us. Remember, they are protecting us. And finally, Speaking of countries protecting their citizens, France is looking to set some pretty stringent measures for the crypto sector. The main reason that they're going to be upping this sort of regulation is because of recent terrorist attacks on France. So they go on to essentially say that the French finance ministry is prepping to not only harden know your customer rules, KYC, for crypto firms, but also regulate crypto to crypto transactions. According to Simon Polrot, president of the French Crypto Association, ADAN. So this kind of seems like what we're seeing in the US, where they want every address to be verified. To be totally honest with you, I have no idea how they're planning on accomplishing this, because yeah, I mean, that's just insane. Like, even when you have a ledger, your ledger generates a new Bitcoin address. So what, every time I receive something new, I have to go through another verification process to prove it's me? That's insane, guys. I literally have hundreds, and I'm not even kidding, hundreds of wallets, because I do transactions with Bitcoin and I use ledgers. So they're constantly I can't even keep track of how many addresses I have, right? But I'm going to have to verify that. Little bit crazy. Yeah, they do say 2 additional sources confirm the proposed measure, but that is it in a nutshell. That is the news, guys. Like I said, we could be potentially looking for that retest down to this lower level down here. Now, keep in mind, we could just be having a bounce. We have dipped below these levels before, but I would keep our eyes on this trend. If this trend gets significantly broken, then we are probably going to retest right around here, which is around 16,500. That is the first level to keep your eye on. That could be a good opportunity for a long if Bitcoin does hit that level. I do believe we'll have a bounce. If that level does not hold, well, then we gotta zoom out and look at the macro, right? But at the end of the day, the trend is your friend. I do think that this is just a correction in a bull market. I don't think we're having a full-on reversal. I don't think we're going back to 7K, 10K levels like that. But, you know, what goes up must come down. The trend is your friend. You know where we're going. And, yeah, I mean, we keep our eyes on the Bitcoin price every single day. But like I said, aside from day-to-day Bitcoin price action, we have fundamentals building, we have infrastructure building, we have guys like PayPal, you know, having the opportunity for the average investor to get involved, Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, this index fund that's coming out, right? All lots of good news out there. And, all during a time where, cycling back to the original point of this video, we are seeing these institutions and high net worth individuals actually selling their gold and buying Bitcoin. So that being said, guys, that is it for me today. Thank you so much for coming back to the channel. You guys rock. You're the reason that I do this every single day. My name is K-Dub. This is CryptoZombie. Until next time, stay crypto. And of course, peace out.